Hello, welcome to the course Learning Cultures, the Formats. My name is Cynthia McAllister and I'm the creator of the course. I'll be your instructor. This course is an introduction to the basic organization of the Learning Cultures model at the classroom level, with a focus on Learning Cultures formats. It presents a blueprint to help you revolutionize your teaching practices. The kind of active, socially based education that you've learned is so important to students is achieved in learning cultures through a system of formalized practices that we call formats. The psychologist Jerome Bruner coined the term format to describe the kind of social situations that young children take part in and that support the development of autonomy. A format is a recurrent, predictable social routine that structures increasing opportunities for learners to experience autonomy, practice new competencies, and develop proficiency and independence in using them. Bedtime stories, mealtime rituals, dressing routines, and other familiar recurrent activities serve as a kind of stage. Children take their place on the stage and perform according to a sort of social script to develop proficiency and independence in using the language and conventions of their culture to communicate with people and to achieve their goals. Competencies are internalized and integrated into the memory through learning. As children gain competence in these familiar situations, these competencies can be later called upon when they're needed in other similar social situations. Through participation in familiar formats, the child gains access to new knowledge, has a chance to learn the things that are important in the larger culture, and has opportunities to store up new competencies so they can be later used when they're demanded in other cultural situations. In education psychology, this process is known as transfer. It's through these routines, as Christina Ernling points out, that the social world provides the framework for learning. Before you begin lectures on the formats, I'll give you the opportunity to review the activity block. The activity block lecture was presented in the Foundations course. It's included again here. Feel free to watch it in its entirety, skip through relevant parts, or skip it altogether. In it, you'll learn about the primary organizational structure we use in learning cultures to restructure the classroom, the activity block. It explains the way time is organized in the classroom. You'll learn the way the block is organized and the way it is used to incorporate a range of activities that support learning and development. Traditionally, most schools organize curriculum into a prescribed sequence of instruction, and content is presented frontally through didactic lessons. Kids either keep up with the pace of instruction or fall behind, creating a chain reaction of social, psychological, and educational problems in these cases. So learning cultures breaks with some of these traditions. In breaking with the transmission tradition, learning cultures is organized around a set of simple yet comprehensive social practices that we call learning formats. On the surface, the formats look like familiar classroom routines: lessons, group work, individual conferences, work time, and group meetings. But these elements are redesigned in learning cultures to incorporate key insights from the behavioral sciences in ways that maximize student engagement, autonomy, responsibility, and learning. There's a strong accountability component to the systems of learning cultures. Rich, rigorous content is learned through the formats as students' activity choices and the use of time and resources are governed by formal learning standards in each content area. Rather than teachers telling students what they must learn, students are accountable for taking responsibility to access the knowledge they need through socially inclusive activities. The learning cultures formats are structured into an architecture of activity blocks, which are like subjects or classes in the typical disciplinary domains of reading, writing, math, the arts, and content subjects. Activity blocks are large chunks of time that provide students opportunities to take part in self-initiated activities that support autonomy and the achievement of self-directed learning goals. A day in an elementary classroom might include the following activity blocks: reading, writing, math, science, and art. In secondary classrooms, the subject classes are simply divided into the formats within each activity block. This diagram will help illustrate how the Learning Cultures classroom is structured to mediate targeted development. First, the class period, usually lasting 60 to 80 minutes, is organized into what we call an activity block. The period begins with a short 10-minute lesson. Students then move into work time. A number of formats take place during work time. The formats can occur in any order, but to summarize the work of work time, each day the teacher conducts 2 conferences. It's known as a content conference in all classes except for writing, where we call it a writing conference. Students meet during work time in cooperative unison reading groups for about 20 minutes. They also meet with their responsibility teams if they've scheduled time together. Work time is also when teachers provide targeted instruction in small groups. Students also utilize work time for their own independent endeavors. The activity block concludes with a share. It's called a writing share in writing classes and a content share in all other subjects. The writing conference and writing share should be spaced at least 1 week apart so that the student has opportunity to apply feedback from one sharing opportunity to the development of a draft of writing, which could be shared at the next. But the content share and learning conference are companion practices and take place on the same day for the student participant. This allows opportunity for the student to wrestle with a challenge in the context of the learning conference and then to share how the challenge was resolved in the content share. Each activity block begins with a lesson that teachers themselves develop based on specific criteria for content and quality. Students then move into work time, where they have opportunities to engage in projects and activities and to take part in unison reading and learning conferences. And the block concludes with a share. In terms of scheduling, the lesson takes up to 10 minutes. Work time typically takes 45 to 60 minutes. Within work time, the small group learning formats include learning or writing conferences. Typically, a teacher will conduct 2 conferences during work time, each of which lasts 7 to 10 minutes. And small group lessons or cooperative unison reading also take place during work time, and these last from 15 to 20 minutes. In classrooms where responsibility teams are implemented, the work time format is when responsibility teams meet.